good evening, good afternoon, whatever time you're listening. I got Ryan Pettis, uh, second time in the Lion's Den here. You are part of the select few that actually come back, so you must be progressing, which I know you are. So let's recap for those that haven't heard the first episode. I think from what I recall, we were diving into some familial
Yeah,
realignment. So
that's
tell
a
me
good
how
way to
that
put it.
so tell me how that panned out.
Um, well, it panned out as I should have listened to you right away and taken action and not waited 2 months.
Okay. The inevitable
Because
occurred.
yeah, it kind of blew up, and
Okay.
I thought we'd be able to wait it out, but it didn't work out, and I ended up having to fire my great uncle, both of my brothers, my great uncle's son, and his friend,
Okay.
and
So what's
kind of.
Thanksgiving going to be like?
I know that's what I'm saying. We also have a good relationship. It's just the respect wasn't there with the
Sure.
family dynamics. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is it's okay. We figured it out now. We have two really great crews. So we have a third one that's kind of part time. And right now they're all subs. I know you were saying to go to employees, and when we talked in what that must have been March or something, April.
Sure.
It's September now, and I ended up going the subcontractor way just for now, trying to keep things moving. Eventually, I
Yeah.
wanted to do employees, but that's kind of where it's at right now.
Okay. Cool, man. So why are you here?
I just want to grow and make sure I'm doing things properly and
Okay.
make sure I'm taking the right steps and I'm not going too fast, too far, and
Yeah.
just see what I can do to improve.
So sustainable growth, right? Making sure this thing's not a fluke, right?
Yeah, keeping it sustainable and not like, okay,
Cool.
1 month we're doing great, next month it
Cool.
kind of drops off.
Well, you've got the marketing agency, which I always like. You're getting leads. Where do you think if you had to pick between administrative, marketing, sales, and production, where do you feel the biggest bottleneck is? If I were to audit your business and I came in and said, dude, there's a big issue here, which element of the business would that be?
I would probably say sales.
Okay.
Not that everyone can improve on it, and I'm good at talking to people and I'm good at the sales portion of it. I think to dive deeper into that, I would say estimating. So figure out like, this number is this for your standard room because I don't even have a set process for that yet. It's kind of I walk in
Okay.
and I'm like, okay, I know it's going to be this, I know it's going to be that, but um, to actually have sustainable growth where, hey, I want to add an estimator a year.
Sure.
I can't tell them, okay, this is what it is because this is how I've done it. I need to
Got it.
estimate it.
Got it. So, believe it or not, the most important element of estimating is actually job costing. So, it's actually working backwards because the reality is if you don't hold yourself accountable, you don't give yourself a feedback loop, right? So, in other words, if you go in and do an estimate and you don't cost it out, you don't really even know if what you're doing now is working. Do you job cost?
Yeah, we job cost every job. The only thing is we're working with subs, so we don't have like the numbers that they're actually putting in on the job.
I don't think that's necessary. Hours are
Okay.
hours, right? Like whether you're
Okay.
using sub or not, they're like you're bidding out the job for a certain amount of time. Whether my employees do it or your subcontractors do it, it's going to take around the same amount of time, right? Hopefully, that would be the
Yeah.
goal. So you always want to use the hours as a benchmark. I think for me, I wouldn't get too caught up in making sure you have pricing for everything just yet. I think it all starts with the type of jobs you take on, and that'll determine the complexity of your pricing. So, what type of jobs are you doing?
Uh, well, right now we're kind of finishing off the exterior season, but we're moving towards the interior, just kind of walls and ceilings and taking on some cabinets as well.
Okay, so let's start with that. So that's three businesses. So make sure you clearly understand and
And
identify
staining.
there's
And
your
staining.
fourth
Yeah.
business. It's important for you to see it that way because every time you take on something else, it's harder to scale. It just is. There's companies that are just doing stain. There's companies that are just doing exterior. Not so much in Minnesota, but more so interior. So interior and exterior are a good blend, but then you're adding cabinets, which is a great survival technique up north, which I can't knock you for. So let's start with pricing for cabinets. That's by far the easiest thing to price, right? So I
Mhm.
guarantee you go into a cabinet job, you're counting the doors and drawers, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So there is an element of production rate with that. Essentially, how long does it take to sand and degrease a door? How long does it take to drill holes? How long? So you can get super granular with it, but I don't think it's necessary. I think, tell me what you're pricing cabinet doors and drawers out for right now.
So the lower one that I've seen is like 130, and then Nick Slavic's at about 150. So I put mine at like 145 right now. So I'm
All right.
usually just under Nick.
Okay. So you're at 145. Okay, cool. So you have, so if we had an estimator come in, we'd say count them up, multiply them by 145. That should get us to where we're at. What's your profit margin on cabinets?
It's usually like 50, 55, somewhere right
Okay.
in there.
So
I know
about
that's a
50,
big variation, but it's still, some
50
of
to
them were able to get
55
more.
percent margin. Okay, good. So that's what we're going to try to accomplish with house painting, right? I mean, it's the same
Yeah.
deal, right? So, what's going to be tricky with pricing is that when you start taking on piecework, one bedroom, couple bedrooms, a living room, a dining room, like these little things are really tricky because ultimately you got to make sure there's enough margin. You got to be able to predict time. So typically, I like to kind of just go full house, right? So and every house is different, so you kind of have to have some flexibility on this, but generally speaking, you know 2,000 square foot house, let's say it's got some texture, just a standard house, ceiling, walls, trim, doors, closets. Tell me how you're going to go about pricing that.
I would just go look at it in person on it because I don't even have a square footage price.
Okay, so you kind of
I
just eyeball it.
Yeah, I look at it and say, okay, this room take this long, and then write it down, and then
So
this
tell
room
me
this
what you're
long.
charging for that. I just want to know.
So your average walls for like a standard room or for like
2,000
labor,
square feet. The whole house is 2,000 square feet.
I don't even, I mean,
You can
I don't even
visualize.
know what that.
Okay. So that's a big bottleneck there, right? Because it's important for you to understand that like when you use square footage as a component, it simplifies the estimating process entirely,
Yeah.
right? So what are we using square footage for? Well, the ceilings, we're using it for the walls, we're using it for the trim, believe it or not. And this is square footage pricing. This is going to help you begin the process of systemizing, right? So even though trim is a linear foot measurement, you can use square footage because if there's a 5,000 square foot house and there's a 2,000 square foot house, there's a lot more trim in the 5,000. So if we just assign a number to that 5,000, it'll protect the integrity of the pricing, right? So, and your customers don't care, dude. I've been doing square footage pricing on house painting since I started because it was the easiest thing for me to do. It's like, okay, all I got to do is Google the square footage of this place and then assign a square footage price. But the problem is, it's not so much about the square footage price. It's about how long or how much you're going to be charged by your subcontractor to do the work. And then you reverse engineer the pricing for the customer. Because I guarantee that your subcontractor, if you're not giving them like in other words, how do they give you a price? Like that's also a consideration, right? So what's that relationship look like?
So we have it set up where when a project is accepted through drip drops, it automatically sends an email to the project manager listing out like the job, the work order, and then the price to give to the sub, which is at 50, it's like 35%. And
Okay.
uh, he just copies that, sends it over to the sub and says, this is it basically says this is a price type accept to get it on schedule. And then we
Okay,
just
so
say accept.
you're dictating that based off of the margin, right? So,
Yeah.
and that's a good position to be in. When you get better, higher quality subs, I'm sure they're gonna want more money because they're paying their team more. But hey, you're doing something that works. So what you want to do, I would just ask this before I get started. Like, how often do you get people that want a full house paint job?
Not very often,
Okay,
like twice a year,
hardly
once
ever.
a year.
Twice a year. Okay. So in that case, do you think that's because you're not advocating for it? Um, or do you feel like what do you think the reason behind that is?
Not getting like a full house paint job. Is that what
Yeah,
you're saying? Yeah.
yeah.
I'm not sure. Maybe I'm not hooked up with the right people, and I need to go talk to realtors more and people that are buying houses or selling houses where they want to get everything fresh, possibly.
Okay. Yeah. So just the way that I've built my business is very rarely will I take anything that's less than 2 days worth of work, which is generally 60 to 70% of the house. right? Very rarely, because for me, like everything's about what we're best at. We come in, we're a big team, the margins are high, I have the pricing for it, right? Generally speaking, when you call us, it's for the whole house. Now, it's very hard to advocate for that on Facebook with just Facebook ads, right? I would use something like Angie Leads if you want to make that a focus, because the customer's indicating that they want 6+ bedrooms painted. You know what I'm saying? So, and it's also on your part to upsell that and be bold enough to say, hey, listen, like I know you just want the living room done, but for us, we typically take on full house painting. Is that something that you would be interested in? And the reason why is because why would we do your trim one color in the living room and not in the rest of the house, or the
Right.
ceiling in this area and not in the rest of the house? So it really has to do with your ability to upsell. So, and you do that because you want to train your customers on how to buy from you. And you have to be bold about it, or else you're going to keep doing these random little piecework jobs that make it hard to schedule and hard to predict outcomes, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, because it's the same way right now. We're doing a lot of like just small jobs. I mean, we'll
Are
be
you
out.
happy about that? Like, like
I
I wouldn't
mean,
be.
it's more pressure on the project manager, and he's kind of stressed out about that because it's so many.
Have you established a minimum?
Yeah, we have a 750 minimum. I had it
Oh,
at 1,000, but we
too low.
lost. I know, but
Too low. What are you doing for 750 that is risking your reputation, right? So for me, 2000 is the minimum. And I think you're at a stage now with your business acumen where you can advocate for that and you can ensure that you're not coming across offensive. And I think you'll uncover that the right customers respect that as long as you word it appropriately. Like say, listen, I would love to take this project on, but for me to give you the experience you deserve, we have to make sure that our team has at least 2 days of work so we can apply resources to your job, like the designer, like,
yeah,
the scheduling. Our process is pretty tight, so that's typically how we operate. If you just want a bedroom done, there's some great handymen around here that could do that for you, but we typically only allow projects that have 2 or 3 or bedrooms or more. And if you keep doing that over and over and over and over and over again, you're going to be surprised, man. People will say, okay, well, can you give me a quote for the living room? Because they want to work with you. There was something about like your company that, they were inspired by, right?
right. Yeah,
So you need to establish.
where do you establish that from? Is that from the initial phone call, or is that on the estimate itself?
Well, I mean, when they submit the request, like it's important for you to get on the phone if it's something that isn't going to be worth you or your sub's time. And I think, look, there's elements of survival, right? If you don't have a job, you have to take it. But
Mhm.
generally speaking, like you want to stack your schedule with jobs that are marginal, that you can easily quote, you can easily sell, and you have like, okay, I got this crew booked for this week. I get this crew booked for this week. Kind of like your exteriors. Like into that usually doesn't happen on exteriors. Very rarely will you paint partial
Right,
exteriors, but for the interior, you want to make sure that you're setting boundaries. Because for me, I'm not even going to a bedroom. It's not worth it. I might give that to one of my guys for a side job on the weekend if I'm really like compelled to help, but it's just not worth our energy that we put into each project. So with that said, I'm going to give you a baseline for pricing that you can use and manipulate. But the goal here is to give you a baseline, right? So the next time you're presented with a full house, you have a baseline of pricing. Okay.
okay,
So for me, I found a lot of success in separating ceiling, walls, trim, and doors.
okay,
Okay. And the reason why is because I'm usually upselling everything, right? Like people
yeah,
want their walls and then they say, well, I want the trim painted. I've ran into a lot of situations where people didn't want the doors done. So for people that combine trim and doors, it's silly because there's a lot of people that don't want to go through the process of painting the doors. They just want all the trim freshened up. So I always separate them, right? So I'm going to give you my pricing. It's just a benchmark. So you need to manipulate it. So the next time you get one, you need to be like, hold on a second. Let me do the math on this,
yeah.
right?
Figure it out.
So the first thing is for ceilings, I'm anywhere between $1 and $1.50.
Okay.
Okay. Now this is Florida for those listening, so take it easy on me. Okay, it's a little bit different here. All right. So for walls, I'm anywhere between $1.50 and $2.50. Now, why? It's a big variation. Okay.
Yeah,
So package pricing is different. It's not proportional. You need to be able to describe that to your customer, because if I give you a price for the whole house, If you decide you don't want ceilings, you don't want doors, and you don't want trim, well, I'm not doing your walls for $1.50 a square foot. It doesn't make sense for me. So I need to increase the price of the walls because everything's based on margins. So when I'm painting walls, I could probably go a lot faster if I don't have to worry about masking off the trim, right?
Right.
You see? So you kind of use that variation, but it's all about setting expectations. Okay. So again, very important. Doors. Interior doors, it depends on how much prep, but usually we're at between 75 and 125 per door. They're big doors,
And
pretty easy. Right?
is that like just white on white, or is that
White
two
panel
coats?
doors.
Okay.
Yeah, spray them, 2 coats.
What about oak?
If it's an oak door,
Yeah,
do you guys have a lot of those up there?
a ton. Like everything's
Yeah,
oak.
people usually probably don't want them painted though, unless they're already
No,
painted.
they do. They want them painted from
They want
oak
them
to white.
painted from wood to white.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's for you to figure out, right? You have to look at it,
Yeah.
just assign a price to it and say, this is the price whenever we have an oak door. How long does it take, right? We'll get into production rates. That's going to probably be better for production rates, but this is a good start before production rates is to just have a rate for bulk work.
Okay.
And then trim is generally speaking, I'm just going to assume everything's white when it comes to trim. Generally speaking, it's at 50 cents a square foot, up to $1 a square foot. Okay. And that's if the customer has crown molding, we'll just put $1. So 2,000 square foot house. And trust me, like I teach this methodology. It's called the 595 rule. Okay. And when you're first starting in your business, you don't want to get too caught up in pricing. You don't want pricing to be the bottleneck. You just want to get in front of people and build value because the pricing is subjective, right? If you build enough value, the pricing becomes the second most important thing. We got to learn value. Maybe we'll do that another time. So say it's 1,000 square foot house. We're going to go through our pricing model here. 2 bedroom, 1 bathroom, 1,000 square foot house, just to give you an example. Okay. So 2 bedroom, 1 bathroom, ceiling, walls, trim, and doors. Give me a price of what you would think it would be if you just walked in there and eyeballed it.
2 bedroom, 1 bath, and then like there's a living room, kitchen, dining room, everything.
Yes.
Right. One floor.
A standard
Probably.
home.
A standard home. Okay. Where's my calculator? Hold on one sec.
Don't use my pricing. Just I want to hear your thoughts. We're going to compare.
With paint and everything included.
What are you doing? The Pythagorean theorem, dude?
No, I gotta price it out. Plus, I don't know, somewhere around like 4,500.
4,500. Okay. So how'd you come up with that price? What were you doing on that calculator?
Oh wait, I didn't do the trim. Wait, hold on one sec.
What do you mean you did? Are you using my pricing?
No,
You didn't even you didn't do the trim.
I separated in my head. Head.
Oh, okay. So you were just like, okay, I'll price the trim this, I'll price the doors this.
Yeah, somewhere around like probably 55 to 5,500.
Okay. So I like the employee model because it's very predictable, right? So what we would look at, and we can use this to help us with our sub model because the sub model is just a group of employees who are employed by someone else. True?
Right. Yeah.
So imagine how much they have to pay, and you should be considerate of what they're paying their team because obviously they're a business too, right? So they want to make money, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So with that said, imagine that there's 3 painters on their crew. Okay. Let's just say the owner of the sub crew is one of the painters. Okay. So what you want to do is you want to assign an hourly rate to that crew lead. I think it'll help you even be better with pricing. So if you have 3 people on a crew, let's say the crew leader gets 25 and the 2 employees get $20 and $18 an hour. Okay. So essentially you're keeping them staffed, right? Again, he's a owner operator that paints with 2 others. Okay. Let's just paint that picture real quick. How many days do you think it would take him to get that done?
With a crew of 3?
With a crew of 3. So if I'm your customer and you're selling me on this 1,000 square foot job, ceiling, walls, trim, and doors, and you know the crew has a team of 3, they're adequate. How many days could you tell me it would take in full certainty?
I would tell you it'd take 3 days, but I would expect probably like 2.25 out of the team.
Okay. So in other words, like if you had employees, you would quote this job with 3 days in mind, right? So remember, we have a $25 an hour leader and we have a 20 and an 18. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to figure out the labor cost. Okay. So let's see what that is. So 25 times 24, okay, is the crew leader gets 600. So that's 24 hours for him. He's going to spend 24 hours on the job, right? If he's there for 3 days, right? 20 times 24. So his number 2 man gets 480. Okay. Remember, he's spending 24 hours, and we're going to price it that way, right? And then the other guy gets 18. So he gets 430. Okay. So you have 600 plus 480 plus 432. All right. So that crew, the labor cost for that crew is 1512. Okay. So if you had a crew of employees and you were paying them 25, 20, and 18, it costs you $1,500 to staff that crew of 3. Okay. In labor. So I'm going to round that up to 1,700 to account for tax and insurance. All right. How much paint do you think it's going to need?
Probably like 11 12 gallons total.
Okay. So let's go up to 15. And how much do you get per gallon? What do you pay?
I mean, it depends on the gallon, or it depends on what it is. You're talking about like
Generally speaking, yeah. What would
ceiling and walls and
Yeah,
trim.
just like give me an average per gallon
Like
price.
just put like 55,
Okay.
50.
You must be using some nice stuff.
Yeah, duration and then
All
emerald
right, cool.
urethane.
We have 825. Okay. So our total cost, if we were if I was the sub and I had myself and 2 others, I need to make 25 an hour, right? That's what I'm hoping to make. And let's say you place the burden of paint on me, right? So we're at 1,700 plus 825. So the total cost to perform this project is 2525. Okay, so about 2,500 bucks. Okay,
Hmm.
so do you see how we're working backwards here? Again, you need to have empathy for the sub, right?
Right.
Now I'm sure you're going to run into instances where he's going to want to make more than that, right? Or whatever the situation is. We just want to model our pricing based off of a best case scenario. Okay. Where again, now if you have an owner who has multiple crews, now you're going to have to factor in profit on top of that because he's there to make a profit. So the price is going to go up. That's why I
Hmm.
like the employee model, because you're eliminating the middleman and you have more
Right.
predictability when it comes to pricing. You're also going to make more margins, but if you can scale it and you have a lot of subs and a lot of jobs, way less headaches. So both models are good, but for me personally, I go employees. So that's 25. You gave me a price of, I think it was like 4,500, right?
55.
Oh, you said 5,500. Okay.
Yeah. It's like
All right.
5 to 5, 55.
Cool. So 5,500. So we have 25. We're going to divide that by 5,500. That's going to give us our gross profit margin of 46%. Okay. So assuming that everything goes well, okay, you're going to make 46% on the job, right? If you price it for that and your subcontractor agrees to getting paid 1,700 bucks. Now, based on what you told me, you give them 35% of the job, correct?
Yeah, and I was thinking it would take them like 2.25 days, not necessarily like 3 full days. I would tell the customer 3 and then get done early, and they'd be happy about it.
Yeah, they can. Yeah, but you want to make sure you compensate them for the projection, right? And it would be the same if you had employees. Generally speaking, you don't want your employees to get penalized for finishing early. It's almost like you allocate that time, because if they run over, you know what I'm saying? You need to just be considerate of that, because like the sub has to pay for that extra time. So you want to make sure there's a buffer there. At least that's how I would run it. But in any
Well,
case,
what we do is we set up jobs for like 2.25 days, and then the rest of the half day they're starting another project, going on another thing.
yeah, I mean, what you're assigning a fixed amount, so it doesn't really
Yeah,
matter. The more they get done, it's just important when you're structuring your pricing to understand both sides of the fence, and
yeah.
then you do what you want with it. But you're pretty close with that price. So let's drill it down to the pricing that I gave you. Okay, so we have 1,000 square foot house. Okay, so
Hmm.
with that said, let's say on the low end we charge 1,500 for walls. So that's saying that, hey, we're charging $1.50 per square foot. Okay. Let's say we charge $1 for trim. So that's $1,000. Let's say we charge $1 for ceilings. That's $1,000. And let's say there's 10 doors and each of them are 125 a piece. So it's 1, 2, 3,500 plus that's 4,750 at that pricing model. Okay.
So okay,
So that's
4750.
all low end, right? That's all
Yeah,
low end. So for me, it's like all you got to do is make minor adjustments on that to find where your sweet spot is, because that only gets us to 4750. So you might
right.
look at that and say, you know what? I want my wall price to be $1.75. I want it to be $2 a square foot, because if you do $2 a square foot, that puts you right where you were thinking. I mean, that'll put you at 52.50. So your wall price might be $2 a square foot. Your trim price might still stay at $1. Your ceiling price might stay at $1, and your door price might be 125 per door. And then you always charge extra for closets.
So
So I would charge
I'm pretty standard just doing it the way that I am. I'm just slow.
most of us. Most of us start that way. You just have to take what you did and make it into a formula. And just
Okay.
so it, like, that's with most things though. It's like you might get lucky with hiring, but you always want to be able to reference what you did well so you could repeat it. You don't want to rely on luck too much. And that's what you're doing now. And you're on the right path. You're already thinking, hey man, I'm here. I'm thinking like, and then once you have this, then you go to production rates, because the goal here is for you to say, okay, I'm looking at 1,000 square foot house. Let me measure the wall space. Let me measure the trim. Let me measure the ceiling. Let me count the doors, and then see if I can manipulate the rates to get me to that 52 to 5,500. So it's even more accurate. So if a customer has columns, or if the customer has 7-inch baseboard in relation to 5-inch baseboard, or if they have walls that need repair, I can manipulate the estimation to account for those small things. And I don't need to come in with my experience. I can put anyone in that position to do that for me. They just need to use the calculator.
Yeah.
So it's pricing's a journey, man. But I think that the best thing you could do is just start with the square footage pricing model and compare it, right? You're going to do an estimate maybe later today or tomorrow, and then you're going to say, okay, well, let me reverse engineer that. You could do it with a bedroom too. Measure the square
Yeah.
foot of the bedroom, do the same thing we just did,
No, that makes sense. Yeah, it seems like I'm pretty close. I just need to narrow in the numbers and figure out what works and what doesn't work. And
Yeah.
uh, yeah, I just kind of got to figure that out. I was thinking about just signing up with Aiden Smith too and talking with him and trying to get
You
it
should. Yeah,
even
he's
more.
actually he's really starting to help a lot of our users with production rates, and it'd be good and he'll probably go in way more detail than me.
Oh yeah,
I just like simplicity, man. I don't put too much. I use production rates 100% of the time on exteriors, though. I mean, I think it's awesome because you can't get square footage. Everything's off of wall space, so you do need that element of production rates. And that's been a game changer. We charge for everything. If you have a chimney, we have a rate for it. If you have shutters, we have a rate for it, because there's so many variables, and you want to make sure not one thing doesn't get a price assigned to it. And it's awesome. I wouldn't go back ever. So
yeah. No, I know. I just got to get
good
there
pursuit.
and get that
Was
moving.
that was
But
that helpful? Like, did that give you some clarity?
yeah, it did. It just kind of made me realize that hey, I need to do this like now and get things moving because
Yeah.
I want to grow and do more. Right now we're kind of all in like the south. I'm kind of in the South Metro, and I want to expand into the kind of the west side of the city. There's a bunch more money out there, and it's I'm trying to figure out the best way to figure out our pricing in comparison to like some of the other companies around here. And
Why? You
well, I want to
mentioned
make
that like you're too focused on other people's pricing. Why are you worried about it?
Well, I know we're trying to build more value and that sort of thing. I just don't want to be like, I don't
Why?
care if I'm the highest.
Do
I
you
just want to make sure
do you
that we're
ever go
hitting
on
good
vacation?
margins.
Do you like sports?
Not really.
Do you ever
I
go
just
on
work all the
vacation?
time. Yeah, I go
You
on
just do,
vacation.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Do you
every
care
once in a
about
while.
price when you're on a vacation? No.
No.
It's not to you. It might be the most important thing because that's natural for you to think like, hey, I got to be competitive. Like, it's a red flag to me that you are so aware of Nick's pricing when you should be just focused on being a better salesperson, because salespeople that are legitimate, dude, they just position the offer to be of more value than the price.
Mhm.
And you have to master that. That's a skill set, dude. That's something that like you really have to truly understand. Like, for example, like if you were coming into my house to give me a cabinet estimate, I want to hear your process. Walk me through it.
Like if I was to like start from the beginning.
Hey, Ryan, I want a cabinet refinishing estimate. I'm calling you right now. Start.
Uh, well, it'd be I I got to think about how my admins would say it. So, um, hey, thanks for calling Ryan, or thanks for calling Pettis Painting. I appreciate you reaching out to us. I know you're
Okay,
looking to get some cabinets done. Do
sure.
you want to tell me a little bit more about kind of the what and why behind your project?
Yeah, we just want to uplift the kitchen, to be honest with you. It's, we actually seen some of your photos online and, definitely gonna do the white look, that everyone's doing, but we really think I'm pretty that Minnesota's coming out a little bit. We're but we really think it'd be a good fit for us.
I think so too. That sounds awesome. When are you looking to get this done? Is this project like you're trying to get it done right now or down the line? Where are you at with that?
Really just getting some quotes, to be honest, not sure what to expect.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, have you worked with a painting company before on some other projects at all?
Generally do it myself. This one
Really?
I feel like is outside of my wheelhouse.
Yeah, cabinets are tricky. Well, you know what? I'm looking forward to showing you what it's like to work with a professional company because we take care of everything for you, so you don't have to worry about a thing. All we
Okay.
have to do is we'll just set up an appointment. I'll stop out there, take a look at your project. We'll kind of
Okay.
walk through the whole entire process. I'll tell you how it's going to work, what we're going to be doing, and kind of show you a little bit of an example, even show you a door to show you what
Okay.
cabinets could look like if you wanted to move forward.
Sure.
Does that all sound
Okay.
fair?
Yeah, it sounds good.
Awesome, awesome. So, and then I'll look at my calendar and try and
All
find
right.
a
So you
time
knock
that
so
works.
knock on my door. What do you do next?
Hey, Mr. Mullen. My name's
Hey.
Ryan with Pettis Painting. Thanks for having me out here today. I really enjoyed the phone call, kind of learning a little bit about your
Sure.
project. Do
Yeah.
you want, and then I would say, I know you're kind of looking to just kind of update the look of the cabinets, and I know you said initially you were just looking to do white. Do you want
Okay.
to kind of walk me through what you're looking for and tell me a little bit more about this project in itself?
I just want the cabinets white.
Just want them white. Have you thought about possibly doing a different color at all? I know you saw kind of our posts on Facebook a little bit, and we do some greens and blues. Those are pretty popular right
No,
now.
no, no.
No?
Wife wants white. You're gonna get me in trouble.
Okay. White wants white. No, that's awesome. I completely understand that. My girlfriend, whenever she says something, that's kind of ends up what it's going to be. So, no, I completely understand that. Well, let's take a look at this, and so we're just going to do white on everything, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about our process, so you understand how this is going to work and what this is going to look like. So, first up, I'm out here now. We're going to kind of walk through the whole entire project and get a little bit more information about finish and product. If you have a lot of people coming through here, if it's just you guys, kind of want to make sure we have the right quality here. And then we'll talk a little bit about the actual process of if you were to move forward and what it would look like from us walking through the door and then coming out of the door, getting everything completed.
Dude, I'm lost.
Really? Too
I'm
much
lost.
words?
Ryan, dude. Okay. This is why you're so concerned about price because you're just word vomiting all over me, dude. Like, this is not about you. The whole thing's about you every step of the way. Like, you only asked me one question why, what, and then you went about your process and your. Okay. You need to stop and you need to think of what it would be like to actually be this customer. I challenge you to go hire a painting company to paint your cabinets because you don't have the empathy. You're missing
Okay.
it. I would actually implore you to hire a company to paint something for you so you can feel it. How can you sell something that you have never experienced?
Yeah, you
Really,
can't. You can't.
you
You got to
can't.
know what it's
You
like.
really want to be good at this? You really want to understand? You haven't even experienced what it's like to be a customer because I could tell. Because you're not delivering the value behind the project. Instead, you're just trying to get them to like you and pick you based off of things that they can't even visualize in their head. They're not. The thing is that here's my problem. I'm gonna tell you what I would have done. Okay, the first thing is excitement level needs to go from a 3 where you're at right now to a 10-5. Okay, because this is exciting and this is big. Okay,
Right.
this is a big deal. Okay, for a lot of people, they're not going to spend this much money on many things, and you're in the running to be that thing. You clear on that?
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
Okay, so excitement actually matters. Enthusiasm really matters here. You're monotone. You're not giving me the energy that I want. Okay. You're kind of you need to be more excited about this project than I am. Do you understand that clearly? If you want to win this game, if you don't want to win this game, that's fine. You can just continue doing what you're doing, and you're going to keep wondering what everyone's pricing stuff for. Okay. I want you to understand this very clearly. You're not looking at this project from the lens of your customer. And that's what matters most. And I'm going to give you some examples of how I would approach this. Okay. First thing is, I'm not going to do the phone call. The phone call I felt was informative, but I want a little more excitement there. I love the fact that you mentioned you're going to bring a door. Okay. The very first thing that you need to do when you knock on someone's door and you're preparing to go through with them about their project is you need to, of course, express excitement, thank them, and hand them a door. Put it in their hands. Say, here's the door that I promised you. Okay. Hold on to it.
Okay.
Real quick. Great. Here's the door. Feel it, because I want you to understand the quality that we're going to be doing on those cabinets. Now, you mentioned that they're oak. You're going to walk in that kitchen like a professional. You're going to start opening up doors. This is showmanship. You're going to say, okay, man, these are beautiful. Oh my goodness, I can't wait. And one thing that you're going to love about this is we're going to fill all these grains here because that's part of our process. So now instead of telling, you're showing. You're giving examples. You're wiping your hand on the grain and you're saying, oh man, we're going to fill these and it's going to come out exactly like that. You understand how you position that? You have him holding it, and then he has the one up there, and you're going to say they're going to come out exactly like that. And he's looking at a door that looks like it never had wood grain. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
That's valuable. And he said, hey, these handles, they're a little outdated. Have you thought about upgrading handles? Okay. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Isn't that a thought
upselling.
of someone that maybe they might not have thought about? You know that everyone should probably upgrade handles, right?
Yeah.
So maybe we can use that as leverage to get the sale, okay? Whether it's free handles or maybe it's free soft close hinges. Bang the door against the frame. Oh, you don't have soft close hinges, I see. Have you ever thought about those? They're awesome, okay? This is a show because you're selling something that is not a need. Therefore, you need to create a show because it's a want. You need to build more value. You're not doing that, right? Instead of telling me to think about what colors look like, why don't you have samples on a board of 15 different colors to choose from and say we do a complementary accent color on the island? He wanted white. Why are you trying to change my mind? The island makes sense. So narrow down that offer to something that would add on to what I want. Another thing, I see the countertops haven't been changed in a long time. Have you thought about doing countertops at the same time? You have? Okay, great. So the good news is we work with a vendor and we can actually facilitate getting the countertops installed right after the cabinets being painted. And that's going to save you some money because we don't have to cover them. Do you see? You see the difference?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It makes a lot of sense.
I want you to understand that is that you have to separate. It's all about separation. Every bit of it. Because the next guy that comes in is going to do exactly what you did. Our process, our standards, our, me, and people tend to buy from people that really truly advocate for their end goal. Like we're on the same team. Like I want you to get the best projects. So this isn't about me. This is about you. And if you don't mind, I want to give you some suggestions because we do a lot of these and I don't want you at the end of this project to feel like something's missing. So I want to talk a little bit about the backsplash. I want to talk a little bit about the countertops. I want to talk about the hinges. I want to talk about how we can make this the best experience you've ever had with a remodeler. Does that sound okay? Awesome. I brought some example samples of handles. We use this soft close hinge. Here's an example of accent colors if you want to do it on the island. I don't need to know that answer right now. It will not affect the price. I'm going to count up these doors today, and I'm going to deliver you a price within the next 20 minutes. What that'll allow us to do is kind of see where we're at. I can give you a price on countertop. I can give you a price on backsplash. You do not need to purchase any of those. But what I'm here to do today is inform you of the cost to get this done. Does that sound okay? And then great. Now you're in your car. You're working up the price. You're preparing to close always. And then you begin by showing before and after pictures as soon as you walk into the door. We did this one. They had oak. Look at how beautiful it is. They did that countertop. They did this backsplash. How bad do you want it? Because this is the level that you need to get to. This is what you're going to want your salesperson to be doing in the home. And if you don't master it, how's he going to do it? So you need to set the standard. Okay. And it requires thought, discipline, putting together those before and after pictures, creating a experience. And then from that point, you use the leverage. Now, what are your leverage points in this service? Time and value added services, right? So is there a time crunch? Are the holidays coming up? Dude, every time there's a holiday, I'm using that as an anchor. We can get you done before Thanksgiving. We can get you done before Christmas. We can get you done before Halloween. We can get you done before St. Patrick's Day. Okay? You follow me?
Yeah.
Everything's an anchor when it comes to time. Do you have any birthdays coming up? Are you having any family over? Wouldn't that be a good question for you to come in and ask? Any events coming up? Anything that we can do to make this a great experience before a great event? Got a graduation coming? Isn't there an event every freaking month that someone could be going through? Whose birthday is it? When's your birthday? When's her birthday? You got any kids? Let's get this kitchen looking good, right? Are you that interested? Really? Or are you there just to make money? Which one?
Yeah, I need to focus more on what they want, what their needs are, versus just me telling them this is what we do. This is how we do it. I think
they expect you to do it the right way, bro. Like, it's like me telling you, hey, you know, I have drip jobs. Like, you know that. Like, that's a given. Like, you know, but what does drip jobs really do, and why did I build it? Is a more valuable conversation, because you don't know that information, right? So
yeah.
I don't know about that analogy, but you get the idea, right? It's important for you to be aware of what their concerns are. That's why I said it. If you haven't purchased a paint job, or you don't deal with contractors, it's very hard for you to understand.
Mm-hmm.
I became a better salesperson when I bought my first house, because I had to deal with contractors, and I had this experience being let down. I had to be experienced being pleasantly surprised. I had to experience dealing with them, and then positioning myself as a customer and saying, you know what? It's not okay to promise a start date and not hit it. It's not okay. That's a non-negotiable for me. If I promise you a start date, I'll freaking go do it myself, because there's a reason why that we promised that start date. You had something going on. That's important. That's integrity. So I want you to take that with you, man. I hope that really nails it in for you. I don't ever want to hear you compare pricing again, because pricing is always going to be comparable. And if the only thing you got when it comes to your customers is price, then you won't win.
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying about building value too. Like I remember what you were saying about, like, you know, if you're looking around a house and they want you to drop price, and there's like a screen that needs repair, like, hey, we're going to take care of this screen for you. We're going to do. I always look for that. Like, you know, if there's something where, you know, they need something done, then I'm like, okay, well, how about instead of dropping the price, you know, we do this, we'll take care of this for free for you, or add this second color for free. You won't charge anything for it. And I think that I've noticed that does help. I think my biggest thing right now is figuring out more ways to build more value, and figuring out, like, okay, how do we add value to this?
Free businesses. This is the problem with trying to do everything, is that there's companies that are just focusing on cabinet refinishing, and the value that they add is light years behind what you can do when you just do one every 2 weeks. Sorry.
Right.
I mean, that's the truth, bro. I'm just being honest. So
No,
either go all in on it, or you're going to continue to run into people that care about price, because I guarantee when you go to Nick Slavik's job, and I use him as an example because he's, you know what his standard is, it looks a lot different than yours. Okay. Does it? Be honest.
Sure.
Does it though? Like,
I mean, I don't know if I'd say it looks a lot better, but
vacuums, standards,
his
things
setup
on
is
the
nicer.
wall.
Yeah.
He's got the experience, bro. I'm not coming at you and saying that you won't get there.
No,
I'm just saying that, bro, like, you have to understand that, like, he probably does a cabinet a week now. Like, he's got his business to a point where he's doing kitchens every week. So that means that the feedback loop is shorter. That means he can make mistakes and fix them faster than you can. Right? He's running into different variables. This is what expertise. Now, he does the same thing. He does exteriors, interiors, cabinets, right? Early on, though, it's really hard to separate yourself when you're competing against bigger companies that do this more often than you do. So you really need to be creative. You need to add more value than everyone else. You need to think outside the box. Let me ask you this. After a cabinet refinishing job, do you offer a cleaning service to come in?
We always clean up with, like, vacuums and brooms and wipe things down. Our guys.
The painters?
Yeah.
Average, bro. Average. Everyone does that, right? But why can't you find a cleaning lady, a cleaning company, and say, hey, what can I charge? What do you charge to come clean a kitchen? $150. Great. I need a kitchen cleaned on Friday. Can you come do it? You know what I'm saying? Like, dude,
Yeah.
that's the level of value that you need to offer. Now you position that in front of your customer and say, one thing that we do is that after the project's complete, we actually bring in a cleaning service to do a full wipe down of everything just to be 100% sure that your house is spotless. Isn't that valuable? Why? Because, dude, if you ever see your customer sweeping something, you failed. If you ever at the end of the job see your customer, I've been in this position and I've seen it happen where my customer's cleaning. Okay. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
That's not exemplary. That's like going to a fine dining restaurant and having to do the dishes afterwards. Okay.
Right. Yeah. No, I
That's
agree.
the level I'm talking about, Ryan. I want you to understand this. And this all stems from not niching down, because if you just did cabinets, you could be extraordinary at this process. But I'm not saying that you need to stop doing what you're doing. You're doing great, man. You're growing. I'm coming hard at you because I want you to see the big picture. So either you start doing cabinets every day, or you freaking zero in on being the best cabinet refinishing service, not the best cabinet refinishing painters. It's all about the service, the experience. How can you do that? Renderings, before and after pictures, iPad presentation, hinges, options, right? Get a wooden board together and drill in 10 different handle variations. So when you present it to your customer, it's no longer guesswork. It's like, which one do you want? Like, if you were to go to build a house, just so you know, I've been through this. They take you to the showroom. All right, what handles do you want? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What color do you want? Like can't
options.
you provide that experience with a little bit of work, a little bit of effort? Like, these are the things I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? So
I do.
consider that. I also would say that your sample door shouldn't just be a white door. I think it should be something that is split in half with an oak door so they can see the primer coat and the finish coat.
Okay.
Right?
And colors.
I think you should do a couple colors. I think you should have a standard set of 6 to 8 colors that you do. And it's like, dude, you come into my house with handles, with soft close hinges, with doors, with freaking everything. It's going to be hard to sit with someone else and not heavily consider calling you.
Yeah. And the price doesn't even matter at that point.
Bro, it's because they can justify it.
Yeah.
Your price needs to always just be justifiable, bro. People aren't stupid. They need to have evidence backing paying you more, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I do.
So,
I completely do. I got a bunch of notes down, and I'm going to do that. And
yeah. Dude, I think highly of you, Ryan. Dude, I know you had to make some tough decisions. You're in the group. I know you're going hard. I come from a place of love. I want you to win. Take it more serious. Be a little more enthusiastic, dude. You know, and seriously, you need to really wow people with value at this stage of the game now. If you don't want to keep worried about price, because that's a very comparable thing as cabinet refinishing. Everyone's pricing by the door. Hey, they're giving me 100. He's saying 125. You know what I'm saying? Like, stop playing that game, dude. You don't need to play that game. You'll always lose it.
Just add the value. Yeah.
Dude, just add the value.
I completely agree.
And I come from you know me, I do interior and exterior painting. I won't even touch cabinets. And we're still 8 years in, bro, learning how to do these jobs better and provide more value and to create a better experience, to do it faster, more efficient. Like, it takes time. So being split in so many directions with so many variables, small jobs, big jobs, exterior jobs, interior big jobs, interior small jobs, interior doors that are oak, interior doors that are painted, cabinets that are oak, cabinets that are painted. Brother, you're spreading your company very thin, which means that the quality is going to lapse somewhere.
Yeah.
You feel me? So
I do.
All right, Ryan. Hope this was helpful, bro.
No, I appreciate everything, Tanner. And I know you're coming at me hard, but I needed it. So I appreciate it a lot.
Yeah, man. If you never talk to me again, it was out of love.
You know we'll talk again, Tanner.
All right, bro.
I appreciate you.